Hello from India, Mr. Maher. This humble Indian says, Gojwa fui? Or hello, how are you in Bodo? Just one of nearly 2,000 languages that Indians self-identified as their mother tongue. We would have hit 2,000 if only they counted the languages we write our computer code in. In my opinion, language diversity correlates very strongly with cultural diversity. And the only geography that comes anywhere close to matching India's diversity is the entire African continent, an area 10 times larger. For millennia, India has been diverse as fuck and crowded as hell, but people still got along. Almost as if the people who first came here found some magic plant that chilled everyone the fuck down. More recently, 70 years ago to be precise, the Federation of Indian States declared themselves a republic. Sort of like what the United States did 230 years ago. In fact, our constitution came about for the exact same reason as yours. After 400 years of imperialism-fueled industrialization, there was nothing left to take from the Indians, and machines could pick cotton faster than people. From that day in 1950, India's diversity has flourished under a vibrant democracy. India even gave all citizens equal rights 8 years before Martin Luther King had that famous dream of his. In the same period, Africa failed to unite people with AK-47s, and the guys who sold the Africans the AKs couldn't hold the USSR together with the most powerful army ever assembled on Earth. India has succeeded where almost everyone else has failed. Almost as if the people who first came here found some magic plant that made everyone just get the fuck along. Before we invented hippie stuff like Buddhism, we already had trippy stuff like the Vedas.
There's no spoon.
Our civil war was actually civil. In fact, we avoid confrontation so much that Michael Phelps has made a bigger splash in the Olympics than 1 billion Indians. Jews have lived continuously in India for thousands of years before Hitler wrote that famous book of his. Christians first came here during JC's own lifetime, and 3 centuries before Romans were feeding them to lions. The oldest mosque in South Asia was built by a man who actually traveled from India to meet the Prophet during his lifetime. In fact, the last survivors of a culture that literally sprung from the biblical Garden of Eden flourish in India. But today, liberals are calling us the F word.
Fascist machine, fascist chimaneho.
In this episode, I intend to show the liberals, PCs and hippies who congregate at your church that India takes to multiculturalism like Mr. Maher takes to dating. We don't just tolerate multiculturalism, we really get into it. Mr. Maher, Western liberals use a good Holocaust movie to indulge themselves in private guilt like they use porn to indulge in guilt privately. Their biggest fantasy is Oscar Schindler with 1 tiny whitelist and 2 big blacklists. And globally, liberals are losing so many elections that they're yearning for a good old Nazi story. One that makes them feel like a real liberal again. Recently in India, the democratically elected government got a go-ahead from our Supreme Court to amend our citizenship laws to grant citizenship to refugees who fled religious persecution from APB. This applies only to refugees who were already in India before 2015. Multiple Indian governments from the 50s onwards have championed this cause. It's one of those things where everyone knew the right thing to do was to open Pandora's box and fight whatever demons flew out.
Nobody got time for that.
So nobody did the right thing for 7 decades. Larry, Curly and Moe want to guarantee minority rights by making sure there are no minorities left. And any liberal whose heart bled for Yahidi women and the Nigerian schoolgirls must listen to this man.
क्या पता नहीं आवाम के धरती क्या खाई थी ना मत अपने मैं ना मोदी गालू वाला मोदी गालू वाला तू साथ ना सही अच्छा सही बात चल ये सुन नहीं पड़ा ये बरोबर
Yeah, hashtag that, Michelle Obama. Who's bringing these girls back? Let me provide you some context on the scale of the issue. Liberals everywhere want same-sex marriage to be recognized by governments. Larry Curly and Moe do not fully recognize non-Muslim marriages. I emphasize again for context. It is technically illegal for non-Muslims to procreate in these countries. Anyone who thinks that India should not give these minorities refuge is either just being a dick or are straight up mentally ill.
I mean, he's kind of mentally ill. And he's a he's a MILF.
MILFs are essaying the role of spoil sports in every major democracy now. Even you, Mr. Maher, the popular vote was an irrelevant consolation prize at best. What I really cannot fathom though is how these guys could probably tolerate each other or how they assemble and hold their meetings. Now I don't know this for fact, I just know it's true. First rule of MILF Club is obvious. You don't post or retweet about MILF Club. Second rule of MILF Club, non-MILFs are subhuman fascists. This kitten is the spawn of Hitler and you must stomp it to death before you join. Third rule of MILF Club, if it's your first day, you must take your gloves off and hit someone below the belt. Mr. Maher, I'm calling upon a South African to depose on some cricket-related evidence. Mr. Noah, I am a huge fan and I need you as an expert cricket witness. Plus, the internet thinks that black men are experts on everything MILF related. So pretty please, listen to these MILFs and tell the Americans what you think.
Several bad puns later.
For Modi, messing with Kashmiri Muslims was just the start. He effectively stripped 2 million people of their citizenship, most of them Muslim, and now his party passed a law to fast-track citizenship for migrants, except Muslims. Do you realize how crazy this is? Modi takes control of Kashmir, a place full of Muslims. Then, when Muslim refugees try to come in for safety, he just turns into a nightclub bouncer. He's like, oh, sorry, fellas, we hit our cap on Muslims.
You know, sometimes MILFs are so stupid that it's not funny.
Hassan Minhaj has just qualified to be a Trump lawyer. Now, I can't unravel that pack of lies in a hurry. So I'm just going to do the easy thing and have Mr. Trevor discredit the source. Mr. Trevor, can you please tell the white people that any Indian guy who talks to them about cricket like this?
Now, growing up, I hated watching cricket. Imagine sitting on the couch with your dad and watching this.
Is a curry Oreo, brown on the outside and white when he looks at himself in the mirror.
3 weeks later.
When this act goes all over India, where every citizen will have to prove their citizenship, religious minorities, Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, they can come back and seek asylum in India, so they will get citizenship, but not Muslims.
Okay, slow down, daytime Dracula. You've got everything right there except the facts.
That's right, Mr. Trevor, you tell them.
He's a dumbass who doesn't know how it works.
The recent changes in law apply to refugees only, and they have a cutoff date. They do not impact any Indian citizen in any way. The rest of his speech has Imran jumping through so many abstract, hypothetical loops. It's giving string theorists a reason to battle on. Mr. Trevor, please tell the Americans that an awesome test cricketer like Imran Khan cannot be batting for Muslims in India and Syria and Chechnya and offer no shot for the Uyghur Muslims in China.
What's your stance on China's treatment of Uyghur Muslims?
Frankly, I don't know much about that.
But you won't speak out against what's happening in China?
If I had enough knowledge, I would speak about it. It is not so much in the papers.
But there's Pakistani men that have gone to protest about their wives being detained.
I haven't heard about that.
Later that same evening.
The biggest and most frightening setback occurred in India, where the democratically elected Narendra Modi created a Hindu nationalist state, threatening to deprive millions of Muslims of their citizenship.
Okay, once again, that's not true.
Mr. Soros, I think you're playing your Illuminati cards all wrong. The Indian law gives citizenship to refugees. As a person who ran away from actual Nazis, I think you should be cool with that.
Later, in the void.
Mr. Trevor, I'm just going to leave this with a new rule for white people. If poorly planned Brexit is the biggest challenge that the European Union has seen in its short lifetime, and India literally had poorly planned Brexit for breakfast, Europe isn't allowed to tell India what to do anymore just because they're white. Mr. Maher, here are some of the facts. Fact: Larry, Curly and Moe cannot satisfactorily explain the whereabouts of at least 60 million non-Muslim citizens. Fact: India passed a law to give these people a break after no one cared about them for 7 decades. Fact: the new Indian law does not impact any Indian citizen, Muslim or otherwise. Everything else, the Nazi references, the wild conspiracy theories, is just a bunch of MILFs whipping up some Holocaust porn.
Holocaust porn simulator? Completely made up detention camps? Adolf Hitler look-alike porn.
Mr. Ma, this whole citizenship thing is a developing story. And in my next episode, I intend to get you some more dope from the land which gave the world dope. And if you're wondering why you should care, deep in your heart, you know that you're going to be making Trump jokes for a long time now. And before that turns your heart into stone, understand that Indian politics is emerging out of a Trumpian-style political dystopia, just as America is beginning to enter into one. And although we literally live on the other side of the world, think of me as a brown bunny leading you down a rabbit hole to a land where the left isn't right and the right isn't Trumpian. Indian politics can be a trippy new hobby that gives you more bang for your bong. Before the next episode, I will take you on a slight detour to explain how looking at what's happening in India might give you some ideas to battle the orange beast. Until the next episode, Mr. Maher, Bogosel Nahiduni, Antonokahe, Jogot Jogot, Donyawad Chila.
And I would do anything for love. I'd run right into hell and back. I would do anything for love. I never lie to you, and that's a fact. But I won't do that. No, I won't do that.
Bodo bad words. Le daini, chumani ho, machri. Share, like, subscribe.